Okay. Okay, think I think it says we're recording. So, all right. Yes, we are. All right, I am going to hopefully share my screen.
You can also just minimize it.
Well, I wanted it to be able to be seen on the recording.
Oh, will it not? See, I don't know how to. I've never used Zoom before, so I don't really know how to use this.
Okay, this is what we want to share. Okay. All right. So can you see this?
No, all I see is a blank screen.
Okay, so I wonder why it's not.
It just says that you've started screen sharing, but nothing's coming up.
Okay, well, maybe it'll take.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so, all right. Hi, Ashley. I'm Lisa. Where are you located?
I'm up here in Rexburg.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just a student doing some online classes.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, hoping to clear my schedule up a little bit.
My my daughter went up there for a year, and now she's doing it online from her house she lives in Wyoming. So.
Oh, one of my old roommates is from Wyoming.
So. Anyway, but yeah, and I live in Texas. So I mean, I can do like next week. Could we do it like at 9:00 my time? Because I have to work until 8 next week. Will that work, or do you need to do something different?
Well, it turns out probably not every Wednesday, but there's an activity on campus that one of my friends and I want to go to. So it's like, if we could do earlier, that'd be perfect. But if not, this obviously comes first. So just whatever works for you, let me know, and I can definitely.
Okay, well, so like next Wednesday, I have to work later.
Okay.
So would a different night work next week? I'm just trying to, because the next week we can change the time again. Since it's the two of us, nobody else signed up for our time.
Mm-hmm.
And she did say that she's like, well, as long as you guys agree on a time and you meet every week, I guess 2 will be fine.
Okay.
So.
Yep. Whatever works for you, just let me know.
Okay. So what time is the event on campus?
It goes from 8 to 11. So, like I said, I can go later too, so it's not really a big deal.
Okay, so let me see how late I have to work, because I think if I just help get the dinner served, I work in catering.
Mm-hmm.
So I may be able to I teach piano lessons on the other days of the week, and so and this was like this was the least busy night for me, and then I had to work next week. So
Okay.
But I will definitely email you with that, or I'll text you if I can get off in time to do it earlier, so that you can still go to the activity. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Don't worry about me. Honestly, it's gonna happen multiple times throughout the semester, so it's not a big deal.
Okay. All right. So I don't know. I know that. So, I think we fill this out as a group, but we each have to turn it in.
Okay. Yeah.
Or is it that we, or do we have to do our own part and then do the group parts? Because see, as a group, so the next one says, as a group, compare your sentences. So, okay, let's take, put your thoughts, experiences, or observations about race into one sentence with 6 words.
I can't be limited.
Okay. So let's take a minute, and then this will be the part that you're going to fill out by yourself. So I'll send you a copy of this when we've got our parts filled out as a group, and then you can fill out your own part.
Okay.
Does that make sense? But
yep.
Okay, so let's take a minute and put your thoughts, experiences, or observations about race into one sentence with 6 words. So let's take a minute and try to do that.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, I think I have mine.
Okay. All right. So what's yours?
I have society can change all racial barriers.
Cool.
And what's yours, if yours is ready?
Oh, yeah, mine's ready.
Okay.
Many people use the race card.
Oh my gosh, that is so true.
I mean, I really feel like that is, I think that's part of the problem is people, it's instead of owning up to things, well, I can't do that, or I don't understand what you're saying, or I don't understand because I don't speak your language, or so I think that a lot of people pull the race card and then and they're allowed to get away with it. So
yeah, and I also feel like people use the race card like against other races, say like, you're Asian, so you should be smarter than this,
oh yeah,
so yeah, to blame other people.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's see. Like, I honestly think it's really possible for us as like a society, just little by little, to change all the racial barriers.
Oh yeah.
After watching that video, the only thing that really is different is that 1% of our genes. The rest is just what's been made up, by people, and throughout the years, people have created races so that way they can feel superior to others.
Right. So I have a question, and it's kind of off topic, but do you think that society will ever get to the point? Have you read did you see the movie or read the book? Oh man, now I can't think of the name of it. I know Lois Lowry wrote it.
I don't remember any of the books that she wrote. I just remember that she's an author, but I don't know what she's written.
So, The Giver.
Oh, The Giver. Yes. So I have seen them.
Okay, so do you think because everybody looked the same? I mean, in the book, I didn't see the movie, but in the book, there weren't any differences. And the person that the giver, right, is the person that kind of
gets to see the differences in the world.
Gets to see the differences in the world. He doesn't take the medicine, right? So So everybody takes something and they all see the same thing. That there's nobody with blue eyes. There's nobody. Everybody is the same color, same. There's no differences. So do you think that would be a good thing if there was a pill that made everybody be the same?
I think, honestly, I honestly don't think it would really be a good thing, because then there's no like uniqueness in the world. I think, people should embrace who they are and what they look like, where they come from, just love it. And I mean, there are people that are racist that are going to try to put themselves on a pedestal above other races, And I mean, I can kind of see it both ways. Like it's a good thing because we all have something in common. No one's better than the other.
Right.
But then there's no uniqueness and we're all just kind of the same and we can't really experience new things and learn and grow.
Okay. So thinking of The Giver, only because I think that shows the absolute opposite of racism, where there's no ism, right?
Yep, exactly.
And you're assigned the task you're going to be. That's what you're going to do no matter what happens in your life. You're going to be a caregiver. You're going to be, you're going to work in the gardens. This is your job. This is what you're going to do. Taking away complete free agency at that point. Isn't that the same? I mean, wouldn't that be similar to Satan's plan, where there's no agency at all?
Exactly.
So, all right. So, sorry, to get back to the topic. As a group, compare your sentences. Do you see trends among your group? Well, since there's just two of us, there's no real trend. But we both agree that race is a social concern on many levels. Okay.
Do we want to put our sentences up on the top so that way she can compare them?
Well, I'll put them both on there. So let's see.
Okay.
And Ashley.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and yours was society contains all racial barriers?
Society can change all racial barriers.
Can change.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. What social factors have influenced these trends? So what do you think has influenced? I mean, so what influence could be used for society to change all racial barriers?
I think we were actually talking about this in one of my my social stratifications class this week, actually, about how millennials are now starting to try to make a change and just be kinder, and there are a lot of different campaigns, really. And I think, and this, we don't even have to type out this part, but just how millennials are just, I feel like a lot of the times they're a little, I don't want to say more open-minded, but they see a lot of different views, I think. And so because they are the future, they have a lot of power to change it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Like, I tend to ramble, so sometimes I'm never sure.
Okay. I have to agree. I am not a millennial. I am the tail end of the baby boomers. So
Mm-hmm.
like the very last year or the year before the very last year of the baby boom. And so um I I could so I don't think I mean I grew up in Utah, so not a lot of color there
Yeah.
when I was a kid. I mean, I don't think there in elementary school there wasn't a black kid in my school.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't I don't even think there was a Mexican. I mean there really I mean so when I was in grade school it was pretty white. I mean it just
Yeah.
really was. I mean that's just how it was. So the ethnicity that I saw was religious, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yep.
so I feel like I am more tolerant of all religions because I grew up like living in a Mormon community. I grew up between a Catholic and a Seventh Day Adventist. Those are my neighbors. You know,
Mm-hmm.
right in the middle. I was in the middle of these two houses and lovely people, love them, great neighbors. And so I grew up accepting, you know, other people's religions and
Yeah.
having an open mind, even though I believe mine is true, you know, and I believe that, you know, but I was open to allow them their own opportunity to, um, uh, you know, to worship how they pleased. So, and I have to say that, so my dad went to college that had a lot of blacks. He went to college. And so when I got to college, my dad made me promise that I would never date a black. And the reason being is he when he was in college, um, the black basketball players, because my dad played basketball in college, their goal was to marry a white blonde girl.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and so that my dad's biggest fear was that's the only reason they would date me because he had seen that, and I think a lot of times that that locker room talk um, makes you know can make a difference on way people you know especially men perceive other men.
Yeah, for sure. And say I also like I mean, I think I'm a millennial. I was born in 97. Is that kind of a millennial?
I would say yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so I'm a millennial and I mean, my grandparents, they're my neighbors and my grandpa and my grandma growing up, you know, they were born my grandpa was born in 1930, you know,
Yeah.
so he grew up in a very racist, you know, time and
Yeah.
always told me that I was never able to marry someone who wasn't white. And what's funny is he wasn't even white. He actually, my grandpa, he's Indian, like a good portion. I think like what 3/4 Indian, something
Oh,
like that. And so it's just really funny how he married someone white, but yeah, he says I couldn't do that. So I thought that was pretty funny. But my grandma, even today, she's constantly telling me, you have to marry someone white. You have to marry someone white. I'm like, I don't care, really.
right.
I don't see race as a problem. And so it's just really interesting to me, you know, how different each generation gets on these different
Right.
topics. I mean, I went to high school with, it was probably like 75% white. Then you had, a couple black kids, a lot of Hispanic, lots of
Yeah.
Mexicans and from other places too. And so, I mean, it was just normal to me to see them, and I'd say hi to them, be nice to them. I learned Spanish, and I tried talking to them, like I wanted to connect with them.
Right.
And so I think, just because society is constantly changing, we're all adapting to
Yeah.
how to treat people.
It's true. It is true. But I think that, and I think you're right that each generation tends to be less judgmental.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I find so. I find that there are still let me tell you this story, and then we can. My daughter, when she was in junior high school, and my older daughter was at BYU Idaho in Rexburg. Apparently, there was something that was on the internet. If you Googled "a white man stole my car," it would pop up and say, "Do you mean a black man?"
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, so my daughter took a picture of it, sent it to us in our little family group message thing, and it was kind of funny. But anyway, so the little girls that my daughter went to school with, one of them, while they were at a basketball tournament, was looking through her phone, and they all laughed at it. But then they started calling my daughter racist.
Mm-hmm.
And she's not racist, but they proceeded to call my daughter racist for a long time. And she would come home and she would cry, and I had to go to the school. And so this was a bullying thing that these girls were doing to my daughter, who it was just a random thing that was on her phone, not something that she had done or that she had typed, but something that her sister had sent her. And anyway, so I had to go to the school. And so I think that people can look for ways to call you racist.
Yep, for sure.
Look at, try to find, if they want to hurt you, they will find ways to call you racist. And it just kind of depends. Okay. So, all right, so go to the racecardproject.com and look at sentences other people have submitted on the race card wall. What sentences stand out both individually and as a group? So hang on and let's see. Are you still seeing my screen?
I see the Word document.
Oh, you still see the Word document. Let me just see
Yeah.
if race card project. Race card wall. Okay. So I don't know if you're. Oh, my screen share is being paused. Resume share. Okay, so
I still see the Word document.
okay. So I'm trying to just. So it's only going to show the Word document, I'm afraid.
Okay, I can just look it up on my phone.
Okay, so
Okay, so yeah, so I pulled it up on my phone just so I can
Okay.
have it.
Wow. There are some very interesting ones. I think the one that stands out to me right now is racially inclusive only when conveniently beneficial.
Uh-huh. There is another one. I think because I'm white, where is it? Are you white girl? Are you having white girl problems? Yeah. But it's funny because I use that every day. I'm like, I'm just such a white girl, you know? Like, I don't take it offensively. I always use it on myself.
Right. My daughter's having white girl problems right now.
Yeah.
Her
I
boyfriend
like
broke up with her today or yesterday.
Or there's one with the little girl having with the black baby doll, and it says, "Does her black baby doll offend?" Interesting.
How about this one? With kids, people don't separate us.
Oh, that one's nice. Whites can't tell blondes apart either. Let's see. I have to like constantly load new posts because it's so small on my screen, but your soul is deeper than skin color. Oh, that one's kind of nice.
I guess skin color is one word.
Um, no, actually.
Because that would be 7, right?
I'm like, that is 7. Oh, well. They use 7 words instead of 6. Um, let's see.
I really like the one that says I finally accepted my own origins.
Oh, there it is. Yep.
Because I think so I am pretty much you know uh you know English white person, from England, Wales, my ancestry.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go back to screen share if I can. Okay. All right.
Oh, I like this one where it says Mexican American, but no hablo español. I mean, it's so true though, because like, just because people are from like Hispanic origins doesn't mean they have to speak Spanish, you know? It's kind of interesting. And what's funny is, because I served my mission in Peru,
Oh, uh-huh.
and so I speak Spanish, and there's actually a part in Peru called Cajamarca
Uh-huh.
where it has a lot of like Spanish influence. So there are actually a lot of white people, but they're Peruvian.
Yeah.
And usually people from Peru are like short, dark skin, brown skin, brown hair, or
Yeah.
black hair and all that. And so I would, just to be funny, I'd tell people that I was from Cajamarca just to see if they'd believe me, and they'd be like, you know, speak English. Like, if you speak English, you're definitely not from Cajamarca because I don't speak English there. But it just made me laugh how they're like, if you speak English, like, you're obviously not from here because like no one there has really any English. Like they try to teach English there, but I mean, not that good.
Right. So when did you serve your mission in Peru?
I served from April 2016 to October 2017. So I've been back almost a year.
So did you know an elder Crozier?
No, there are 13 missions in Peru.
Okay. Well, somebody from our ward had gone to Peru. So,
Oh yeah, it's a great place. It's my favorite.
so would you go back?
I did go back, actually. I got to go back and hike Machu Picchu and do all that with my family and see my mission. So,
Oh, fun.
yeah, I'd only been back 2 months, and my parents didn't want me to lose my Spanish, so they're like, gotta go as soon as we can. So, I think, honestly, if I were to pick one, like, from the website, it'd probably be that one, Mexican American, but no hablo español.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to type in a couple.
Okay.
And so I'll just type in a couple. I'll put, I like, because I also think that being white, like I am, tends to, people like to make you feel guilty because you are white.
Yep. White shaming.
Yes, white shaming. And so anyway, and I feel like that's probably not super acceptable. I'm so sorry, but I can't help that I was born white.
Exactly.
I mean, my parents were white. My grandparents were white. I do have a great grandmother that was Indian, but you can't tell from looking at me because I'm super white, and my daughter's even whiter. So
Yep. Say my grandpa, he looks Native American, but you'd never know because my mom and like my grandparent or my grandma we're all extremely white, it just kind of takes over.
No habla español.
No hablo.
No hablo.
Uh-huh.
No hablo.
Yep.
And I don't have the little hypheny thing over it, but so
Yeah.
Mexican American, but no hablo español.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And then let's see. I liked racially inclusive only when conveniently. Okay. And pick one more.
Oh, goodness.
Did you want to do your soul is deeper than skin color?
That one's not the 6th, though. I like this one. Being different shouldn't mean treated differently.
Okay. I made it be 6 words. Being different shouldn't mean treated differently. I made it be 6 words.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. So how do the sentences submitted by members of dominant groups differ from those submitted by people from minority groups? I mean, I didn't pay any attention to who posted. Did you?
No, not really.
So I'm just going to put that because I mean,
I feel like it's more obvious, like what they post, you can kind of tell. Like being different shouldn't mean treated differently. I feel like that could possibly be from like a minority because they're probably the ones being treated, quote, differently than other people.
Right. Okay. All right. So last one is read the following article about racism on college campuses. So it says to click to follow the link. I don't know if it'll really follow the link because all right, so can you see my screen?
No.
Is it paused again?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know. This is not saying what you discovered in your class. That's interesting. Okay. Really quick. The white supremacist ideology authorities say motivated Charleston shooter Dylan Roof is obviously extreme for anyone and may seem particularly out of place for a 21-year-old at the young end of the racially diverse millennial generation. Yet research has found racially prejudiced attitudes to be surprisingly persistent among the youngest generations of white Americans. In April, we looked at the data on anti-Black prejudice by generation and found millennials are not much more tolerant than their parents. And I don't think that's necessarily true.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that I have to say about reading newspaper articles or any kind of article is you can take information and spin it to your perspective. It really,
true.
And if they want to have it be this way, they can come up with data, even if they do data on, they can take a subsection that show, so you take a poll and then you take the subsection of the poll that shows the part that you want to have. So anyway, so racial slurs that have cropped up, chants, emails, and whiteboards on America's college campuses have some people worried about whether the nation's diverse and fawned over millennial generation is not as racially tolerant as might be expected. The Christian Science Monitor went so far as to ask, are millennials racist? Surely not all millennials are racist, but data can address a key related question. Are white millennials less racially prejudiced than past generations? We took a look at 5 measures of racial prejudice from the General Society survey conducted by NORC's 2010, 2012, and 2014 waves. Among many other questions, the survey asked respondents to rate whites and blacks on a scale from hardworking to lazy. Using this data, we can categorize respondents into whether they rated whites or blacks as being lazier, more hardworking, or the same. When it comes to explicit prejudice against blacks, non-Hispanic white millennials are not much different than whites belonging to Generation X. Okay, so Generation X, born 1965 to 1980. I am not a Generation X. Baby boomers, born 1946 to 1964. I am a baby boomer. There you go.
There you go. My dad's a baby boomer.
So
my mom's not.
Your mom's not? She's a Generation X?
Yeah, by like 1 year.
So, all right. So white millennials, using the definitions of being born after 1980, expressed the least prejudice on 4 out of 5 measures in the survey, but only by a matter of 1 to 3 percentage points, not a meaningful difference. On work ethic, 31% of millennials rated blacks lazier than whites, compared to 32% of Generation X whites and 35% of baby boomers. Question, wording, and methodology at the end. Okay, so they're going to tell us how they White millennials view blacks similar to Gen Xers and baby boomers. Baby boomers stick out more as the revolutionary generation, at least compared to the silent generation that immediately preceded it and was born before 1946. Boomers are between 8 and 17 points less apt than the silent generation to express open prejudice views towards blacks, amounting to the greatest shift from one generation to the next. So, my mom and dad are silent generation.
Yeah, I'd say my grandparents are too.
Well, so let me just tell you, I have a daughter that's like 21, so, and that's my baby. So
I'm 21 and I'm the baby. Yeah.
so apparently, I'm the same age as your folks.
Yeah.
So my parents would be like the same age as your grandparents. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond general comparisons, the poll suggests substantial minorities of white millennials hold racial prejudice against blacks. Over 3 in 10 white millennials believe blacks are lazier or less hardworking than whites. So now I have to say, so that could be just from people they know, if that makes sense.
Exactly. There's always some sort of prejudice. No one is like perfectly unbiased.
Well, right. But so what I'm saying though is, so I work with a whole bunch of blacks and Hispanics. I really do. I work with a whole bunch of them. And so there are some blacks that are super lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? They really are. They're not as hardworking as the Hispanics. But then there are some blacks that are super hardworking and can like run circles around, like even the whites. So I think it depends on your interaction with certain racial groups, certain ethnic groups, whatever. I think it depends on your relationship with those that you're being questioned about. Like if you went to school with some, let's say you went to school and you had blacks and whites and Orientals and you had a whole bunch of different people, and you went to school with all these kids, and you know what? So, and you were friends with some, some from each group. And let's say your friends, the Oriental group studied like crazy all the time. So you're going to say they're hardworking, they very studious. And let's say, the blacks, they just didn't really care about studying. Or then you have some that really cared about studying, but the group that you were hanging out with, they didn't really care. They didn't want to study. They just wanted to, sit around and watch, TV or go out, or go out and, play on the football team. But they only did enough to get by to play football. Mm-hmm. So your perspective of those different groups would be what you've seen in your own relationship, not necessarily you've never seen a black person in your life and you're going to say, oh, they're super lazy. You're going to have some experience with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the question is maybe poorly positioned, or, it was maybe not the right question, because if you're thinking of maybe we need to go down further and see how they asked, what they worded the question.
Yeah.
Let's see. As it said, they had the question down here. Okay, so here, okay. On average, okay, I guess. General Society methodology and question wording. The General Society survey was funded primarily by the National Science Foundation and conducted through in-person interviews with random national samples of U.S. adults. Overall results among non-Hispanic whites for the combined 2010-2014 data on questions analyzed carry a margin of sampling error of 2.5% points. For generational groups, the error margin ranges between 4 and 6%. Okay, so so then the data was analyzed by the Washington Post. That's okay. On average, Blacks, African Americans have worse jobs, income, and housing than white people. Do you think these differences are because most Black African Americans just don't have motivation or willpower to pull themselves up out of poverty? Okay, so in that respect, they're asking them have worse jobs, income, and housing than white people. Do you think these differences are because The second set of characteristics asked if people in the group tend to be hardworking or if they tend to be lazy. A score of 1 means that you think almost all of the people in the group are hardworking. A score of 7 means that you think that almost everyone in the group is lazy. A score of 4 means that you think the group is not towards one end or the other. And of course, you may choose any number between that comes closest to where you think people in the group stand. Where would you rate whites in general on this scale? Blacks. So, but it's not, so it's just asking you in general, but if you only have, if you've never seen a black, how would you know how to rate them?
Yeah.
Or if your relationship with a certain black person, and maybe you've only seen, the ones living in project housing. It really boils down to somebody's perception. Right. And I don't necessarily think that means that you're racist as far as how you perceive somebody as, your own interaction with people.
I think there's definitely a fine line between like your perception of a race and like actual racism.
Right.
Just because you think negatively about, I don't want to say like a race, but like you have this perception which causes you to think negatively, about a race. Doesn't mean you're racist. I feel like when you're racist is when you act on that, like you say terrible things to them.
I have to agree. So then it says, then the next one is a score of 1 means that you think almost all the people in the group are unintelligent. A group of 7 means you think everyone in the group is intelligent. So they flip-flopped it.
Mm-hmm.
So 1 was the best on the first time, and now 7 is the best. So I think that's very misleading. They probably needed to keep the way they scale. Yeah, because people a lot of times, I know when I have to do those scale things, I don't read, if it says 1 to I think I look at the top and it says this is how it's going to be. I don't keep reading over and go, oh, okay, so now it's switching and 1 is the worst and 10 is the best. I'm always going to think that, whatever they've said at the first is going to be how it is. So if they've asked these questions. So
I think they also might have been like fishing for answers, because they probably knew that people weren't going to be reading it.
Oh yeah.
So they're just fishing for whatever answers that they want. So I feel like this isn't actually a fair test to do, not a fair trial.
Not a fair poll. So then the last one says, now I'm going to ask you about different types of contact with various groups of people. In each situation, would you please tell me whether you would be very much in favor of it happening, somewhat in favor, neither in favor nor opposed, somewhat opposed, or very much opposed? Okay, so here it is. So living in a neighborhood where half of your neighbors were whites, blacks. So now they've gone back to the other way, where one is the best, like favored versus not favored, right? So, okay. What about having a close relative marry a black person?
One of my best friends just got married last year to a black man, and I think it's the best thing ever.
My cousin's daughter got married, and I mean, she is so I have this another funny story to tell you. When my cousin was in kindergarten, and she is blonde, and very white. I mean, she tans well, but so she's a towhead, so very blonde and blue-eyed, and so she so I don't know how it came up at school, but my cousin was telling her teacher that she had a black grandma and a white grandma, and so the teacher called my aunt and said, so Susan was telling us that she has a black grandma and a white grandma, and we're kind of concerned. And my Aunt Laurel said, my mom dyes her hair black, and the other grandma is a blonde, so she has a black grandma and a white grandma. So anyway, perception, right?
For sure.
So it's kind of funny. All right. All right, let's go back and so I think that they're okay. I think that they're so about racism on college campuses. Although the general trend suggests that millennials have more accepting racial attitudes than previous generations, racism continues to persist. What social and cultural factors do you think contribute to racism among college students?
It's so hard because, going to a university where honestly everyone loves everyone, and growing up in a practically all LDS community, and just everyone back at home is just so nice. I mean, it's kind of hard to think about racism in these places.
Right.
So, but let me think. Social and cultural factors. I think a lot of it is also economic factors, he's Mexican, his family doesn't really make that much money, and gives him a way to make fun of him, use his race against him, kind of thing.
So economic factors. What do you think about? I think there's some. I'm gonna say, even though not at BYU Idaho, but there would be some athletic.
Oh, for sure.
Athletic factors that would contribute to racism because a lot of times football players, black, white, Polynesian, whatever, right, tend to get away with more if they're a star.
Oh, for sure.
Okay,
and
so
I mean, that's definitely a big thing that goes on. I think pretty much anywhere, honestly, even if it were, because BYU Idaho doesn't really have this college sports, but there still are, what are they called?
Intramurals.
Intramurals, thank you. I know I don't play them, so I never remember. But I mean, even if you're picking a team, and say you're picking from a group of people you don't really know, you'd be like, oh, he's black, so he must be fast, he's a fifth black guy, so he has to be fast. Usain Bolt kind of set a little bit of that standard,
Yeah.
Fastest man alive. There's also what do you think aside from athletic, but academic?
Oh yeah, I think so.
There's a whole lawsuit at Harvard, I don't know if you heard about that, where people who were Asian were being held to a higher standard, and like if they hadn't met like met that standard, then I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but I just know that there is a problem at Harvard holding Asians to a higher academic degree than other students just because they're Asian.
Right.
So just a lot of stereotypes.
Okay, I'm gonna put stereotypes too, because if you don't get to know, okay. So what measures can universities take to decrease racism among their students?
Equal opportunity.
So I have to tell you, oh, okay, there it is. I gotta plug in my laptop. Okay, there we go. It went dim for a minute. Okay, so equal opportunity for all students. Same standards. Okay, my word's not responding. Great. Okay. All right, so equal opportunity for all students, same standards for all students, regardless of race or culture. I think the standards not only for maybe same standards academically, and athletically.
Mm-hmm.
I know that because one of the things that I wanted to maybe write my paper on is the reverse discrimination. Because like at UT and they have a lower standard, or they used to have a lower standard for minorities to get in versus whites. So the whites were held to a higher standard academically to get in. And so even though like my daughter was in the top 10%, she still couldn't have gone to UT because she wasn't a minority.
Yep.
And so they only had so much room, even though they said, if anybody that's in the top 10% of their school can get into any, state universities, but it's not necessarily true. So anyway, all right. So equal opportunity for all students, same standards academically and athletically.
I mean, it's kind of hard because I feel like it's a personal choice whether to be racist or not. Whether like you're going to act on it. I mean, the school can like campaign, but what people decide to do is, it's their agency. It's their decision whether they want to do that or not. So it's kind of hard for a university. I mean, they can take as many measures as they want, campaign, put posters up, and stuff like that. But I mean, it's ultimately up to the person that is acting racist towards somebody.
We feel that it is a personal decision for each individual whether they behave racist or not. Choice. Okay. All right. I will go ahead and send you a copy of this, and then if you want to add anything else.
Okay. And then do I just have to fill in like my own answers, or
no? Because I wrote your name in, so just go ahead and because it's as a group, right? And I wrote down like each one of us, and then she's gonna get to hear our she can watch our little
video.
Okay,
so I just have to turn in my own paper.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I have 2 online classes and I'm getting them a little mixed up. So I'm like trying to make sure I'm getting these. So every Wednesday you and I are going to be doing this, correct? And
yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. That's nice to know. Okay. Yep, you can just send that to my Gmail or my school email. Either one. I use them both all the time. So.
Okay. All right. And then I will text you about next week about what time I get off work. I can always take my laptop with me if I need to, and just do it from there. So.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. I'll send you our paper in just a minute, and okay. And
I'm sorry that you can't see me. I know. I'm sure it'd be nice to see the person you're talking to.
That's okay. That's okay. I just want to save this as so I can find it easier. So, hey, baby. Hello, sweet baby. My daughter's little kitten's here.
Aww.
And he misses her.
Do we have like other groups in this course? I'm getting seriously these 2 classes confused with each other. Or is it just you and I?
For this class, it's just you and I for this meeting.
Okay.
But I think we may, in our group, in the other group where we do the discussion board, I don't think it's just us.
Okay, but that's just a discussion board where we just read everything and write.
Yes, or watch the little video, and yes.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. And today is the 26th.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. I'm going to save this and then I will send it to you as soon as we're done. I'm gonna
Okay, perfect.
stop sharing. And I'm going to stop recording and we're done. Thanks, Ashley. And we'll see you next week. Okay.
All right. See ya. Thank you.
Bye-bye.